All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar today on using LinkedIn in your job search. This is part one of a two-part webinar, and we're going to give everybody just a few seconds to pop on in to the webinar room. We have a lot of people attending today. So as usual, if this is a webinar, not your first webinar with FlexJobs, feel free to add in the chat where you are dialing in from so the rest of the audience can see that. We always like to see where people are joining from as well. And we'll just give it a few more seconds and then we will get started with announcements and dive into the content. All right, it looks like things are filling in, so welcome, and welcome back if you've been to a FlexJobs webinar before. A little bit of housekeeping before we dive into the subject matter today. We will have time for questions and answers after all of the content is presented. So if you have a question, please put it in the Q&A section of Big Marker rather than the chat section. We'll be here to answer your questions at the end, and we will look for those questions in the Q&A versus the chat. One thing that's really nice about the Q&A section, and those of you that have attended webinars with us before know that you can do this. You can thumbs up a question or upvote it, it's called, if somebody posts a question and you also would like to have an answer to that question. That helps us on the career coaching team prioritize how we answer those questions or which questions we answer. It is hard to get to all of the questions as we go through and see what all comes in. So having a way to prioritize some of those is really beneficial for us. So if you don't mind just making note and double checking that when you type a question in, it's in the Q&A section. Now, the chat area is a really great way to share your own experiences or tips and tricks on some of the things that we will talk about today. It also is a great way to network with folks who are on the webinar as well. And since we're talking about LinkedIn, some of you may want to be doing that. We are recording this session or this webinar, and you will receive the recording as well as any other links or a link to any of the items that we have put into the handout section in Big Marker. And I know that's kind of a weird thing to call them as handouts, as they're not really handouts. They're more links to the resources that we will cover during today's webinar. So make sure you check those out. Also, part of the recap typically includes a transcript of the chat. So you may see that as well. So if there are people that you want to connect with and maybe their chat goes by too quickly because there's a lot of information going on, you have the opportunity to see that, or you should have the opportunity to see that when the chat transcript is included in the recording. And I'm fairly certain that that is the case. And since we're going ahead and sending that recording and any of the resources, you don't have to stress about taking furious notes. You can certainly jot some down. But you will have all of the recording as well as a link to all of the resources coming up shortly. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about today's topics that we are going to cover. You can see our career coaching team on the right-hand side. So we are here to talk to you via webinars. If you are a FlexJobs member, we also have weekly live Q&A sessions. And of course, we do individual career coaching, resume reviews, career change coaching, kind of talk through some job search strategies as well, which LinkedIn is one that should be on your list. So as I mentioned a few minutes ago, this is part one in a two-part series on LinkedIn and how you can utilize the platform to enhance your job search. So today we are going to talk about, in a high-level overview of what LinkedIn is and why you should be on it and why you should be using it. Within the LinkedIn platform, there are profile settings. So I want to highlight a few key profile settings. We also want to share with you how recruiters search using LinkedIn. And then finally, before we dive into the Q&A, I want to discuss all the things that you need to do, or the steps rather that you need to take to create an all-star profile on the platform. All right, so what exactly is LinkedIn, and is it important that you are on it? The answer is yes, it's important that you are on it, and here are some reasons for that. LinkedIn is really the premier professional networking site, digital site. There are 740 million members who have LinkedIn profiles. There are over 55 million companies who have registered or created a company profile page on LinkedIn. 40 million people are using LinkedIn to search for jobs every week. We know that 3 people are hired every minute from LinkedIn. We also know, this was recently on a 60 Minutes segment about, the Great Resignation, if you guys have heard about that. 1 in 6 jobs listed on LinkedIn is remote. Prior to the pandemic, that was 1 in 37 jobs. So there has been a huge increase in remote job opportunities that are posted on LinkedIn. Of the 14 million open jobs, 1 in 6 is remote. I think that's a pretty incredible statistic. Over 90,000 schools are represented on LinkedIn, and if you already have a LinkedIn profile, you know you can add your education section, and so your school is likely already listed. And finally, there is a skills section on LinkedIn, which we will talk about throughout both of these presentations, but there are currently 36,000 skills or keywords relating to skills on the LinkedIn platform. So it's pretty robust in terms of what's happening kind of behind the scenes, and these statistics here in terms of job seekers using LinkedIn to find work. Some other statistics that are pretty important that we were able to round up for the presentation. We know that 95% of recruiters use LinkedIn to search for candidates, 95% to contact them, 93% of recruiters will keep tabs on the candidates that they're following, and 93% of recruiters use LinkedIn to vet candidates prior to an interview. So recruiters are going to LinkedIn to search for their candidates. Beyond that, they are also going to do other things prior to a job offer. So this is not just about a job search anymore. It's really a career marketing campaign. And if you view your LinkedIn profile really as a digital proof of sorts of your work experience and your accomplishments, that will be really, really helpful for you as you go through your job search. According to a Career Builder study, employers are less likely to contact an applicant they cannot find online. Most people these days do expect candidates to have an online presence. And if we're talking about finding remote work or even hybrid work, I think that's also partially an expectation. If you want to work remotely, somewhere along the line, you'll have an online presence. A Resume Go study from almost 25,000 fictitious job applicants or applications noted that resumes that included a link to a comprehensive LinkedIn profile, a profile that was completed, received 71% more interview callbacks than resumes that included only a bare bones profile or no profile at all. And finally, according to Insider Intelligence's annual U.S. Digital Trust Survey, LinkedIn is the #1 most trusted platform when you look at Facebook, or I guess Meta, as it's called now, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Reddit, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. So of all of those, LinkedIn is the one that has the most trusted reputation. So this tool, when used correctly, can be really powerful for your job search. And I mentioned in the topic section, one of the things we were going to talk about are some profile settings, so you can get your profile set up to be in all-star status. All right, so you want to have a checklist on how you can build your LinkedIn profile for success. So the first thing that you want to do, and we're going to go through this on the subsequent slides coming up, but you're going to create a custom profile URL. When you set up your profile, LinkedIn sort of assigns you a URL, and that's in the little, I guess, web browser address bar, if you will. And it's going to be LinkedIn / maybe partial letters of your name and a series of numbers, but you can customize that. You want to make sure that you have a professional profile photo. When I say professional profile photo, I do not mean you need to pay to have a professional photo taken. It needs to look professional, and it needs to be representative of the industry or the type of work that you are going for. Having a custom background image to personalize your profile, that banner that's behind your profile picture. We're going to talk about how you can make your headline stand out, how you can make your about section or your summary section stand out, what you should add to the featured section of your LinkedIn profile, how you can how you can add those relevant key skills, what 3 skills are the top skills you want people to be able to view, how you can get recommendations from your connections. We'll talk about LinkedIn groups. FlexJobs has a LinkedIn group, so you definitely want to join that, but there are thousands and thousands of groups on LinkedIn which can help expand your network. And really, you want to make sure that in your job search or just in your career development strategy, you have part of your to-do list include being active on LinkedIn. And throughout different times in your career, this may mean 5 minutes, it may mean 20 minutes a day. It really just depends on where you are and what you're looking for. So first step, I mentioned customizing your URL. So what you want to do to customize your URL, everybody's URL is unique. They're available on a first come, first served basis, and you can only have one custom public profile URL at a time. So to change yours, you want to go to the Me icon on the right-hand side of the home page. When you log in, there's the home, there's messages, there's jobs, there's notifications, and then there is the Me section. The drop-down will allow you to view your profile. And then on the screenshot, on the slide, on the bottom right, you can see that on the right-hand side, under those icons, it says Edit Public Profile and URL. And when you click on that, you'll be taken to the Public Profile Settings page, and you'll be able to edit your custom URL with the edit icon. And you want to edit that to be similar to something like www.linkedin.com/in/your name. So you're going to kind of remove those numbers and letters that are kind of after the IN/ and add your name there. So you'll just change that last part of your custom URL and then click Save, and you will be in business with your public profile URL. When you apply to jobs, you will use and put your URL on your resume, and this will make it much more much easier to read and much easier to see. It will also keep your mind top of mind for the person who is reviewing your documents. All right, so next I want to talk about 4 key settings on your LinkedIn account. Those 4 settings will be account preferences, visibility, communication, and data privacy. Now there is a wide range of account settings on LinkedIn. So there are more that you will want to go through, and obviously you want to review all of them and make sure everything is set up to your liking and where you want it to be. These are the 4 that we want to highlight today. In account preferences, there is a profile information section, which really essentially includes your name, your location, and your industry. So you want to make sure that across all of your profiles digitally, across your written documentation, that your name is consistent across the board. Fill out as much information as possible for your location, not your home address, of course, but your city and state. And then this is, I just want to highlight that the name, location, and industry is important because this is what recruiters will see first when they do a search on their sort of result list on their mini screen. Now for site preferences, this is really about what your preferences are for when you are on the site or what other people might be able to see when you are on the site. So for site preferences, you will be asked a question, viewer of this profile, so your profile also viewed, and then on the right-hand side of the LinkedIn results will be other people's profiles who are somehow connected or aligned with yours. If you are a job seeker, you want to turn this off so people can stay focused on your profile. All right. So if you want to be found by recruiters, that's what you will do. In terms of subscription, LinkedIn does have a premium service, which there is a monthly fee. This does give you a little bit more access to certain things like sending in-mail messages, seeing people other than first-degree connections, and seeing specifically who viewed your profile. You will you will return higher in searches that recruiters and hiring teams conduct because you are a paid member, so it's kind of like SEO for yourself. And the algorithms will prioritize premium or paid members in those searches. One thing that I really want to stress, and this is really important, do not use your company email address for your LinkedIn email address. This is for privacy reasons, number 1, and number 2, if you ever change jobs, you will not own that profile anymore. It will belong to your former employer's ISP, and it's not going to stay consistent throughout the length or the life of your LinkedIn profile. Visibility. So pay attention to your profile viewing options. You want to be visible if at all possible. There are options for being private, and that means that your name and headline or private profile characteristics will be different. It might say career coach at FlexJobs, but when you are in private mode, what it will say when you return in searches or other people look for your profile, it will say anonymous LinkedIn member. Obviously, if you are looking for a job and you want to be visible to recruiters and people that are hiring, you want this to be turned on. When you are updating your LinkedIn profile, however, you can turn off the visibility of LinkedIn activity. And this is up to you. You can always keep this off if you want. What happens is if this button is on, certain people in your contact list, whenever you make a change on the platform, might get an email that says so-and-so updated their headline, so-and-so updated their education section, and you can turn that off. Or you can just keep it off anytime you update your profile and then turn it back on. Who can see when you are on LinkedIn? You want to use discretion with this and turn it off if you have an employer who is really strict about social media. Another setting to look at and decide what you want to do is communication. You want this to be, if you are a job seeker, as open as possible, so as many people as possible can send you messages while you are job searching. And then once you land a job, you can change this setting. And finally, for your data privacy, job application settings, when you turn on this setting, your answers are going to be saved and it will also upload your resume. Microsoft Word has a resume assistant that may pop up or is connected to LinkedIn because Microsoft purchased LinkedIn. So there's an option in Word to see similar resumes. And this is Microsoft that's asking, can we suggest the content that you have on your profile? So that's something that you want to keep in mind in terms of privacy as well. And signaling interest to recruiters. This will be applied for companies that you create job alerts for. So if you create a job alert for a specific company, and then when a recruiter is searching for somebody to fill that role, if you've got a job alert on, there will be a little icon or a little notification in the recruiter search results that you are already following that company, which would express interest to that recruiter that you are interested in that role. And it will, ideally and hopefully the idea behind this is it lets the recruiter or the person looking know that you are interested in that company already, and they should hopefully explore your profile a little bit more in detail. All right, you can turn on career interests and open to work as well in your profile. So from your profile page, look directly at your headline and your picture. Underneath, you will see some options that say add profile section, open to. Both of those have drop downs. So if you are open to hiring, if you're already a recruiter, or finding a new job or providing services, for this example, you would select finding a new job, and then you will be given some options as to what type of job you would like to find, some work that you are open to. You can also select the type of work. There is now an option for remote job locations, which was recently added to LinkedIn. And then you can also choose to see who can see that you are open to work, and you can select that to only recruiters or all LinkedIn members. And so if you are currently employed and your employer does not know that you are job searching, which is mostly the case, I think, you would want to turn that on to only recruiters. LinkedIn does a pretty good job of keeping this, private. I don't believe they guarantee that there is no possibility that your current employer would see that, but they do a really good job of keeping that out of the limelight for your current employer. Along the same lines, as we continue to talk about open to work, there is a frame that you can put on your profile picture that is hashtag open to work. During the height of the pandemic, these photo frames were really great and good to increase the messages from the community and receive more in-mail from recruiters. A recent survey that we did found that 84% of people said they would be willing to help somebody in their professional network who has lost their job due to COVID-19 and would help them find a new role. Now, I think that this might be changing slightly. So what you want to do is, just like when you apply to a job, you want your LinkedIn profile to set you apart from other folks. And so with millions of people using the open to work frame on their profile, that doesn't necessarily set you apart from other people who are open to work. So making sure that you have the open to work selected in terms of your profile and recruiters knowing you're open to work is different than having the hashtag or the photo frame on your profile picture as well. And so you can really think about that. On the slide, before I move on to the next one, these are the choices for who can see that you are open to work: recruiters only and all LinkedIn members. And if I'm not mistaken, on your profile picture, if you have open to work, I don't know if there's a way that LinkedIn masks that for your current employer. So that's something to consider as well. There have been some recent updates to LinkedIn that I think are pretty exciting. For those of you who have had a career break as a stay-at-home parent or as a caregiver, there are new job titles that you can use in your experience section to indicate that, so you don't have to have that gap in time in your experience section. You can now also add your pronouns, your preferred pronouns, to your name in your profile. There is a video cover story that you can record on your mobile device only, and this is about 20 to 30 seconds where you can, kind of give your elevator pitch of sorts to folks that might be looking at your profile. I would only do a cover story if you're very confident and comfortable and know specifically what you want to say and why you want to say it in terms of what you're looking for. And if it meets those criteria, then you could play around with a cover story. Creator mode is something that if you are producing a fair amount of content and if you have a decent amount of connections, you can turn on creator mode and then use popular hashtags to indicate the topics that you post the most about. Activating creator mode will also kind of rearrange your profile and what people see. Your featured section and activity sections will be at the top of your profile, so they will show ahead of your about section. And finally, there's some new service pages for freelancers on LinkedIn. Freelancers can create dedicated service pages to list what services you provide to clients. And this is in the work section or the services marketplace, which is to the right of your, me icon, your profile icon. All right, let's talk a little bit about how recruiters will search on LinkedIn when they are looking to fill for a role. I don't want to underemphasize this. In fact, I want to overemphasize this. The skills section on your LinkedIn profile is where the strongest back-end information or algorithm for LinkedIn gathers its information. So these skills, so recruiters are going to search by skill keyword. Each person who has a LinkedIn profile is allowed 50 skills, and the more skills that you have, the more visible you are going to be, because your chances of a recruiter using those keywords or skills, that you have on your LinkedIn profile, the more likely they are to find you. So according to LinkedIn, members who have 5 or more skills on their profile are contacted up to 33 times more often by recruiters or other LinkedIn members. They also receive up to 17 more profile views. In addition, if you get endorsements for the skills that you have highlighted on your LinkedIn profile, you will rank higher in search results as well. So LinkedIn has something kind of in their formulaic background called skill diversity and skill density. So skill diversity is having a diverse range of skills represented on your LinkedIn profile all the way throughout, starting with the skills section. What skill density means is that you have a density of those keywords throughout your profile. So if you are applying for accounting positions, putting required skills like general ledger accounting, accounts receivable, tax preparation throughout your LinkedIn profile, meaning your headline, your about section, your experience section, and your skills section, this is all going to help increase your ranking with the back-end data mining that LinkedIn does for folks who use LinkedIn Recruiter. So what you want to do is read job descriptions to see what kind of skills those job descriptions are looking for, what words they use specific to those skills. You could also look at skills of competitors, coworkers, your boss, people who have similar career paths and similar goals. and then choose the 50 skills or 38 skills or whatever that number is that are most relevant to the job you have and the job you want next. Be forward thinking with LinkedIn. For endorsements, you can get up to 99 endorsements per skill. If you give out endorsements to your connections, it might remind people to endorse you as well. The other thing that recruiters will use when they are searching are job titles. So type in the job title of the job a recruiter is looking to fill and think about the job titles that you have. You can change your job title on your LinkedIn profile to fit more commonly used job titles. So let's say you're a business development person, but your job title is customer happiness guru or something along those lines. In parentheses behind your job title, whatever is most reflective of that is more commonly used across the industry for people who are hiring for roles, you could put business development in parentheses behind your current job title, which will also help in the searches because recruiters are typically searching job titles that are most common versus those unique job titles that many companies are using lately. Okay, recruiters will also search location. Again, I already mentioned not to use your full physical address, but city, state, and region is fine. The more details you have, the better. And one thing to note here is that if you're willing to travel to a zip code of a city that's 25 or 30 miles per your house, but from your house, or it's just a bigger city, you can use that zip code or put that city name in as opposed to the smaller town or your home zip code where you live. I mentioned recruiters will search job titles and keywords. They also will search certifications, degrees, and technology skills. When if we revisit your name and how your name should be on LinkedIn, it really needs to be consistent across all of your documents, online and written. So do a Google search of yourself, see what comes up, see if there are different names. If you need to find a reputation management company, you can do that as well, just using Google. And you can add any certifications or advanced degrees next to your name on your LinkedIn profile. There is room to do that. So my colleague, Rachel Adkins, has an advanced degree in education, and she's also a certified professional career coach, and she's listed that on her LinkedIn profile right after her last name. All right, so how do you go from a regular LinkedIn profile to getting that all-star profile badge? So there will be some key things that you need to finish before being deemed an all-star on LinkedIn. And as you are on your LinkedIn profile, you are the only one that can see where your all-star status is. Nobody else can see that. That's just really designed to help you keep track of the steps you need to take to get into all-star status. First and foremost, you need a profile picture. Again, it does not have to be a professionally done picture, but it should be one of you dressed for your profession, looking friendly and energetic. Do not avoid this. Do not use a dated picture. Probably don't put a picture in your cap and gown. Make sure you're dressed for the profession that you are trying to get into. Members who include a profile photo receive 21 times more profile views and up to 36 times more messages, according to LinkedIn. Your professional headline is right beneath your profile photo. Take advantage of this space. The default on LinkedIn is that this will default to your current job title and company. So mine would say career coach and team lead at FlexJobs. That's not what you want it to say. You want to use this space that has 220 characters for different job titles, keywords, and something that makes you unique. Make sure you're using the job title that you are applying for or skills related to the job. So I have career coach, interview preparation, job search strategist, remote work advocate, career change coaching, business coaching, number of different things. You can see some examples on the slide: customer-centric and data-driven sales professional, social media strategist, community builder, problem solver, connecting people to opportunities. This is your opportunity to give a recruiter or somebody searching on LinkedIn a few phrases or words or keywords about you that should entice them to click on the rest of your profile. Recruiters can rule you out if your headline doesn't match what you are applying for. And just as a side note, job titles are more heavily weighted than headlines because you're actually being paid to do that job, and a headline is self-proclaimed. So you want to, kind of use that as a guide as well, or at least just as information to arm yourself with as you are ramping up your LinkedIn profile. Okay, to continue on getting a All-Star profile badge, you want to make sure that your experience section is up to date with your current position. Members who have a current position or up-to-date positions are discovered almost 20 times more in searches by LinkedIn members and recruiters. This is important as well. Make sure your dates on your profile match the dates, titles on your resume, and everything is consistent. A couple other key points here. You want to be as descriptive as possible, utilizing those keywords that are in the job posting. Remember, keyword density. Keep it concise, maybe 2 to 4 bullets of accomplishments that you've had at this role. Focus on accomplishments and results. So think about actions that you've taken equals results, and that's how you want to formulate those bullets. The most information should be included for your current position and the one that you had prior to your current position. And as you work down the line in your career history, you don't need as much information for a job that you did 8 to 10 years ago. In fact, for the oldest roles, you could just include job title, company, and dates if that's what you would like to do. When you add the company name that you work for, make sure you choose the company picture that pops up on LinkedIn. Remember, there's 55 million companies on LinkedIn, and so if you pick FlexJobs or Verizon or Amazon, there is a company page that each of these companies have, and when you click on the photo or the picture that pops up, this will help post that it's the real Amazon company and not another company, and it will look more professional in your profile as well. This, again, when you are adding your job title, I just want to remind you, if there is a job title that's more representative of what you do, you can add that in as well, as long as it is accurate and is an accurate reflection of what you do at your role. The summary or about section is another area that you can concentrate on for adding diversity with keywords as well as density. A summary of 40 words or more makes it more likely to show up in a search that people do on LinkedIn. Think of this as your elevator pitch, and actually you can have many more than 40 words, 1,600 characters, I believe, you can have in this section. So it can be a couple paragraphs. You can do a bulleted list of your top 10 specialties, whatever that might be. And you want to, maybe peruse other people in your industry or peers or colleagues and sort of see how they've positioned themselves. If anybody out there has a really great about section, that would be something to give you some inspiration for when you are composing yours. Also, in order to have an all-star profile, you do need to have your skills section filled out with at least 5 skills, but remember, you can have up to 50 skills in this section. We'll talk a little bit more about this in part 2 of the webinar. Make sure you're including your industry and your location. The education section needs to have something there. And once you have 50 connections, that will seal the deal with all of these other items to get you an all-star profile. All right, so here are some tools that are also available on LinkedIn that are helpful for you as a LinkedIn user to know about. Number one, LinkedIn Learning. There's a mock interview tool. And of course, I mentioned premium or a paid subscription as well versus the free account on LinkedIn. And we'll quickly go over these in the next few slides. All right. So LinkedIn Learning can enhance your current skill set and help you gain new ones. This is a really great platform to use for everybody, but particularly for career changers. You will be able to see some courses for free for 24 hours, and then you have to pay for them. Some are not available unless you have a premium account, but there are also courses that are free all the way through as well. So you can do some searches on LinkedIn Learning, which is an icon on the far right. When you are on the home page of LinkedIn, it is to the right of the Me button. And then you'll be able to click on that and search the various courses that are there or see what pops up when you click on that. You know, you can learn and pay attention to what relevant skills are there for jobs in demand. So start developing your skills for free with Learning Paths from LinkedIn Learning and Microsoft Learn. And then you can practice these tech skills in the GitHub Learning Lab. This is particularly important for IT folks. This was available during COVID. Some of these things are phasing out, but nonetheless, because obviously COVID is still here, but it will help you to go through and just peruse these and see what opportunities are out there and what might make sense for you to try to do. In terms of the mock interview prep tool, this is free for people to use. It allows you to practice video interviewing, which is great because so much interviewing is now done via video, and it's always nice to practice this. It allows you to get feedback and see sample answers to questions as well. So you might have common questions like, tell me about yourself, and then you can practice and get feedback. Pushing this button will start recording, and you can select other common questions, and you can also get some feedback. Now, a LinkedIn Premium account is going to give you some more feedback than just the standard LinkedIn account, but you don't have to have the premium service to do the practice. So we encourage people on the career coaching team, those that we work with, to use this tool as well. Now, you've heard me mention premium a little bit, so let's just kind of talk about that for a minute or so. LinkedIn Premium, I mentioned you can send in-mail messages to recruiters, which is not able to be done with a regular LinkedIn account. You can see specifically who has viewed your profile in the last 90 days. There are 15,000 LinkedIn Learning courses that you will have access to. Again, those top interview questions and expert-approved answers will be visible to those with a premium account. And again, you may and probably will be more prominently displayed in search results that a recruiter conducts if you are a top qualified applicant because you are a paid premium member. You also can look at insights and analytics from the companies that you are interested in applying for. You can see if you are a top applicant at certain for certain job postings. There are competitive intelligence statistics that will be listed as a LinkedIn Premium member as well, so you can kind of look through that. Now, this is based on people who apply through LinkedIn, most likely, and so this will give you a good sense of the type of applicants who are applying for a specific job and help you make decisions as to whether or not you want to continue to apply to that role or pursue the application for that role as well. All right, so as we kind of go forward here, I am getting ready to pop into the Q&A section of Big Marker. But just as a reminder, we will be sending a copy of this recording as well as resources presented via email within the next week. So make sure you check your spam folder if you don't see it, just in case. For more tips, tricks, and resources, visit the FlexJobs.com blog. There are over 4,000 articles on any topic of your job search to, of course, include LinkedIn. And so you will have those as well. That's open to members and non-members alike. All right, I'm going to pop into the Q&A section, and please continue to type them there rather than the chat section. I won't be able to check the chat section for this, and then give a thumbs up to upvote those questions as well.
Hello, this is Anne. I am one of the career coaches here at FlexJobs. Can you please let me know if you can hear me okay? Just if you want to pop that in the chat, that would be great. Okay, great. So we are hearing me. Great. Thank you so much for doing that. So I see that there are a lot of questions in the Q&A, so we may not get to all of them, but I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to focus probably on the ones that have the most votes. So the first one we have is about location, and it asks what we should use when our focus is clearly on 100% remote position. And in that case, it is the same generally, because even though jobs are remote, in a lot of cases, they still do require or have some geographical parameters. Maybe it's because of labor laws, taxes, licenses, and certifications. So I still recommend giving a general area of where you live on LinkedIn. If you're a digital nomad and you're all over the world, maybe put where your home base is or what you consider your permanent address, and leave that on there. But recruiters often will be searching by location, a specific location. So we do still recommend that you put something in there that works for you, maybe where you file your taxes from. Okay, our next one is asking if our career coaching and or resume review includes a review and critique of the LinkedIn profile. We don't have a service that is specifically for reviewing the LinkedIn profile, but we are certainly willing and able to review that with you in a coaching call. And then we generally recommend after a resume review that you use some of the edits that were made to that resume in your LinkedIn profile. The one caveat there, though, is that your resume is generally tailored for a specific job with a specific company. That's what we recommend. And LinkedIn needs to be a little more general. This isn't usually a problem if it is, say you're an accountant or a marketing specialist. Your about section can focus on those skills and keywords. But if you're, open to several different positions, you'll want to make sure that you're highlighting your skills, accomplishments, and keywords for the roles that you're interested in there. Let's see. We have another one. What are your thoughts on applying for a job on LinkedIn and then shortly after sending a follow-up message introducing yourself to the company recruiter or the recruiter listed on the job posting? This is kind of a two-part, and maybe you didn't mean it to be, but applying on LinkedIn, I just wanted to give a little piece of advice. When you apply, I don't recommend using the easy apply because that really pulls stuff from your LinkedIn. And as I was saying earlier, it's key to customize your resume and your application for each job, tailoring that. So just make sure that you're going to the actual job board and tailoring your resume before you apply. But I love the idea of sending a message to follow up with the recruiter, either the one who posted it or maybe the hiring manager or the person who might be reviewing your application or who might be your supervisor down the road. don't do it immediately, but maybe a few days later, or when it gets close to the closing date, if that's been published. Just connecting. But if you do that, you need to be very specific that what your name is, the job title, job number, even the requisition number that you applied, the date you applied, and a reason that they might want to look at it, or a reason that there's a connection, mentioning that you're interested in connecting with them. We actually have a sample on our samples and templates page in FlexJobs. So if you go to our website and find that, you can see kind of what our guide is. But that's a great way to get yourself in front of that recruiter and make sure it gets pulled out of the dozens or hundreds of applicants. But it should always be after you apply. Another question is, I feel very uncomfortable with all strangers on LinkedIn, seeing where I currently work and go to school. Women especially need to retain some privacy. How can we appeal to recruiters and employers while remaining safe? Is it necessary to have your current place of employment and resume public, or can we submit those details when we apply? So yeah, this is a tricky one, and I do think it's personal. You don't need to have your resume out there in the universe. Even on your LinkedIn profile, I don't know that it's necessary. And again, because we talk about tailoring your resume, your LinkedIn is kind of a living, breathing representation of you, a marketing tool. So you don't need to put your resume there. You can be general about your location as far as your city or state, the greater Chicago region or Northwest or something like that. If that makes you feel more comfortable. Employers are going to be looking, if they go looking for your LinkedIn, they are going to be looking for verification of your experiences, and maybe even a little more. Your about section can be a little more fluid, and you can have some media up there if you want to. So yes, you should have your, if you choose to have a LinkedIn, you should have your experiences out there. An alternative is to have it set so somebody can maybe only see your headline and your image. But the algorithms that LinkedIn uses are constantly changing, and so I don't know if you'd be as viewable. You also have the option to just not have a LinkedIn, and present yourself so well in your resume and your cover letter, and maybe following up in other ways, that it's not necessary. But I do what makes you feel comfortable. If you're not comfortable with that, that's definitely your personal choice. Let's see. Are there good LinkedIn learning courses that you would recommend that's good to include on our resume? That's going to depend on what your field is, what role you're applying to, what skills you want to highlight. So I definitely recommend going in and looking at those LinkedIn learning courses, seeing if there are any that might fill some gaps on your resume based on the jobs that you're applying to, and complete those. And then, once you complete them through LinkedIn Learning, you can make sure they show up on your profile, and then you can also include them on your resume. And just another little pointer about those, sometimes the public library in your area will provide free access to LinkedIn Learning. So definitely check that out if you don't have the premium subscription. Our next one is it bad to use flexible, professional, open to new opportunities, finance, strategic operations, some different ideas as a headline? I would instead, for your headline, use skills or accomplishments, something that is going to describe, it's going to include keywords of jobs that you might want, and it's going to give that recruiter, when they land on your profile, a good idea of who you are and what you would bring to a job. So if strategic operations is something that you're good at and you've had experience and you might look for a job like that, yes, business operations, I think that's fine. But I don't know that I don't think you want to go into it looking like you don't know what you want to do. Recruiters want to know that you're the right person for this job. And so they want you to feel confident. So even if you're not super confident in the job you're looking for, I think putting those specific things like finance, strategic operation, business operation is fine, because you could, those are all, if those are qualities you have and what you're interested in doing, but maybe don't put flexible, professional, and open to new opportunities. Are recruiters able to filter by age? That is a good question. I don't think so. I don't even, now I'm racking my brain. That might be something I'll have to Google, but I'm not sure if you're even required to necessarily put that information. It's definitely not visible unless you want it to be. So I'm not 100% sure by that. What they can filter, I know, when you go in and look for graduation years, I think that is going to be visible in your education and even your work history. So they may be able to make assumptions based on that, which is why, as far as the experience goes, if you're worried about ageism, we don't encourage including every experience you have, maybe just the last 10 to 15 years of experience, so that that's going to be less obvious to a recruiter. Let's see. Are recruiters more likely to select your profile if you list hybrid availability or totally remote? I don't know that that's a blanket answer. It depends what they're looking for, and the qualifications, and how much that being in person or not in person is important to them. So I don't know that that would be something that's going to really impact too much. How do you get people to endorse your skills? Is there a way to contact people on LinkedIn to ask for endorsements other than just endorsing them to remind them? Yes, there's a few different things you can do. You can always in-mail them or email them a link to your profile and ask them, if they would be willing to give you an endorsement there. You can also do it on your profile straight from the endorsement or recommendations section. When you go in there, there's a plus mark to add a recommendation. If you click that plus, it gives two options: one to request one from someone else, and one to give one to someone else. But if you click that plus, you'll be able to request, and then that gives you the opportunity to choose who you'd like to request it from. You can also go to your connections profile and request it there, that they provide you with an endorsement. And again, always don't just click the button and send a canned message. Mention how you knew them when you worked with them, and even if there's something specific that you would like them to endorse you for, so that it's an endorsement that you want to add to your LinkedIn profile. Okay. Just trying to make sure I'm hitting everything. Let's see. All right. For the experience section. Yeah, this is a great question. If you're changing careers and a job you had many years ago is more in line with what you want for your future job, how can you include that? That's, the age-old question, both on resumes and LinkedIn. But what you can do is leave it off the experience section. If it's very, you could do it two ways. You could add it back in and weigh the pluses and minuses of having those years on there, or you could remove that old job information, and in your about section, say experience with, and talk about those experiences there, or mention, if it's corporate experience that you haven't had more recently, you can always mention it in that about section, so that the keywords are in there if a recruiter is searching, and then make sure that you are able to back that up when they ask about it if you get to an interview and that type of thing. And on your resume, sometimes you can include the experiences that are older, but maybe in a other relevant experience section, and we take off the dates in that case, but we're still having those keywords and experiences there. Although I do think that's generally a tip off that we're just trying to hide the years. Let's see. So hopefully that's helpful. But yes, use your headline in your about section to bring in those keywords from things that you're leaving off LinkedIn. Let's see. For the new homemaker option, okay, this is going to be my last one. I'm sorry, we're at time. For the new homemaker option on LinkedIn, how would recruiters view that position if we took a break from a job to serve families and friends? That is, again, going to depend on the recruiter, but generally it's not uncommon for people to have a career break, particularly women, but even especially with COVID, a lot of people from all walks of life took off some time for a career break. I think just keep it minimal about what you're sharing. You could say for caregiving without getting too deeply into what it is. And then always include that you are, energized and ready to get back to work. And that we have some of those samples of how you can describe that in our resume samples on the website. So again, we're at time. I am sorry that I didn't get to all of your questions, but we do have a coaches Q&A every week. So go ahead on our webinar page and sign up for one of those, and you can get your questions in there. And I hope that you enjoyed us. Thank you for joining today. As a reminder, a link to today's recording and a list of the resources will be emailed to you within a week. And if you'd like more support, we do offer one-on-one career coaching and support services with our coaching team. And like I said, be sure to join us for future Q&A and other webinars. Thank you. Have a great day.